All right. Hey, well, welcome everybody. As Chuck said, this is something that we're very excited to be participants in. And for some of you that don't know me, my name's Michael Stern. I'm here in Scottsdale, Colorado, and I'm going to do an overview of this opportunity working with this extraordinary company called Corsair, and and then a networking version of the networking marketing and education division that is a wholly owned subsidiary of them called Amplivo. So let's go ahead and get started here. So let's talk about what the problem is. And this is a problem that for many of us in the US, especially those of us that are kind of going about what we're doing in with our ages, something that we're really a bit oblivious about. But we come to realize that there is a mass of plastic out in the world, in the environment, literally 9 billion tons or so of it. And most of us have been thinking that, well, is that really still a problem? We recycle, we take care of things. I didn't know it was a big problem. I thought it was being taken care of. So we kind of wonder who's responsible for all this, but the reality is it's us. We are the ones that are responsible because the US is one of the most massive consumers of plastic and consumer goods using plastic in the entire world, more than all of Europe put together, 3 times more than China. It's amazing to believe. But the average person in the US is creating somewhere around 287 pounds of plastic waste per year. And so think about it. Think about what your age is times the number 287 to give an idea of how much we've been perhaps inadvertently, but nonetheless contributing to this massive amount of plastic getting out in the environment. So if you're around 50 years old, that's like 14,000 plus pounds, literally over 7 tons of plastic that we're contributing at. So yeah, we recycle, so what? We're out there, we do our thing, but the reality is that is just not working. So let's take a listen to this presentation here and get a sense of the lie, really, or the misunderstanding, if you want to enlighten a little bit about recycling.
We're going to go down the rabbit hole of plastic recycling today, and it's absolutely crazy. Did you know paper, you and I, we recycle 66% of all the paper we use every year. But do you know what percentage of plastic we recycle every year? 5 to 6%. Did you know, roughly, worldwide, we generate 400 million tons of plastic every year, of which 42 million of it is in U.S. And you and I, back in 1980, we used to waste plastic 60 pounds per year. You know what we're doing today? Over 220 billion per year. And we've known about this problem, that nobody is recycling, because of a study that was done by Vinyl Institute. They came up with a conclusion in 1986 that recycling merely postpones disposal without offering a permanent solution. Bunch of other numbers I want to share with you, which is kind of wild. We're going to talk about that today. Did you know plastic became available, the first product, in 1907, but mass production didn't start till 1952. Matter of fact, if you look at this chart here, this is how much plastic production was taking place annually worldwide. Look at 1950, nothing. Look at 1976, bingo, 89, double again, 2002, double again, and then look at from 2002 till today to where we are today is absolutely wild. 400 million tons of plastic every year. By the way, just 70 years ago, it was nothing. Meaning, this is not yet a problem that we all know a lot about. The right people know it's a big problem, but they're not talking about it. And watch this. Remember when I said to you 400 million tons of plastic waste is every year? Do you know what percent of it ends up in landfills in our natural environment? Ready? 60% of it. That's 240 billion. But let me continue. In comparison, U.S., remember how we said 42 million tons, metric tons of plastic every year, highest in the world? In comparison, the U.S. produces almost twice as much as China and more than all of the countries in EU combined. This next one's pretty crazy. More than 8 million tons of plastic enters the ocean every year. It is estimated that roughly 40% of ocean surface is covered in plastic debris, And if our plastic consumption behavior continues, scientists warn that there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean as soon as 2030. This may be a little bit of fear porn by the scientists, but do you believe the fact that there's a lot of plastic and trash in the ocean? How often do you go to the beach, you're like, what the hell is this all about? Or you're going with the boat, you're like, why is it so dirty over here? I believe that. 100,000 animals die from plastic entanglement every year. Let me give you a couple more here. Humans ingest 5 grams of plastic every week. You know what that is? That's 1 credit card every week. Every week, you and I eat 1 credit card, which, by the way, in 10 years' time, we would have eaten 5 pounds of plastic and 44 pounds worth of plastic over the course of our lifetime. We eat a lot of plastic.
Yeah, we eat a lot of plastic. So the reality is the reason that we don't see it as much here in the US is for some 30 years, we've been shipping all of it to other countries in the world to let them take over it. All kinds of countries. Here's just a chart of the various countries, but it was going tremendous amount going to China until 2018, I believe that's when they stopped. And then Malaysia just recently stopped taking it as well. People don't want it anymore. And the challenge is it's out of sight, out of mind here, but over there, who knows what's being done to it, going in landfills, being incinerated, being dumped in the ocean. So a lot of this stuff is attributed to all of us here in the US. So it is a huge problem around, and the plastic is 10% of all the waste worldwide that's done. A huge amount of plastic bottles, and currently less than 9% worldwide is ever being recycled. But in the US, it's probably 4% or even less than that effectively being recycled. And we're just at a point where it's looking to triple over the next, by the time we get to 2050. So things are not slowing down, even though we think it's being handled, but it's not being handled, and it's not going to be handled by someone else. It's not going to be handled by some other government, our government or whatever. It's going to be handled by all of us collecting, getting together, and having an impact on this process. And so Corsair has come up with a phenomenal solution, and it took them quite a bit of time in doing it, where they were able to do something that people said was impossible, and that was turning plastic waste garbage into oil, but more importantly, not just any oil, into oil that has the quality necessary to be used directly by plastic manufacturers into new plastic, so that is contributing the amount of recycled plastic content that is being mandated in new plastic for human consumption. So let's take a listen to Jay Solianto, and he's giving a good idea of really what this mission is. But he's the founder and CEO of Corsair Group International.
So our mission is really to take the garbage that nobody wants and then convert that into a very high quality, valuable product that we now supply for some of the largest petrochemical companies in the world, like, for example, Shell.
Shell, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, so when I saw Shell was involved, I was like, wow, the big players are seeing the impact here, the value here, and they're getting involved.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a huge deal.
All right, the big players. So this is their facility in Bangkok, in Thailand, or outside of Bangkok. And this is really where they got their biggest start in putting this together and perfecting all the technology, and where they've had the most activity. This was an amazing place. And we've had some folks go over there, as you'll see coming up. That's where Rick and AG Crow. But let's take a look at it. Right now they've got 3 different locations. This is the 3rd location that is just getting started, and these 3 units that are going in just in this 3rd location have the capacity of producing 800,000 gallons of this certified pyrolysis oil every month. I mean, that's amazing. Removing 440 tons of plastic waste from the environment every month, just these 3 units alone. And they'll have a total of some 30 of them in the combination of the 3 facilities there in this area. So here's what I was mentioning before. Here we've got Rick and we got AG Crow that were visiting the Bangkok. It just was one of those amazing serendipities that Chuck and I were talking to AG. He was going over there. He had some children that were missionaries over in there, and he was going on anyway. But at the same time, we were talking to Rick, and Rick decided to go, and it just happened that they were able to be there on the same day. And if you look on this bottom left corner picture there, that kind of plastic is the kind of plastic that nobody's able to deal with. It can't be mechanically processed. It would gum up the works. That's the kind of plastic that is typically not recycled by anybody, ends up in landfills. And that's the kind of perfect plastic that's involved in this pyrolysis process. Now, as mentioned, it was late 2024 when Shell basically came to the conclusion that this was the best quality pyrolysis oil that anybody's ever submitted to them, and developed a long-term contract where they'll buy every drop of it that Corsair is able to produce, both from its Thailand facilities and its Bangkok facilities. Now, this is, not Thailand and Bangkok, but Bangkok and Finland, Thailand and Finland. And this is what's going on in Finland. And they started off with initially one reactor, mainly done there to get all the environmental data they need. Finland is the most stringent environmental regulations in the world. And if they figured if they can really get things nailed down for Finland, then every place else was going to be pretty easy to do. But they've also got 3 new units that are being put together in there. And for those of us that are going to be attending in about a little less than a month from now, those 3 units should be operational by the time we get there. This is that same Finland facility. It used to be a paper mill, and originally they just had this one piece here, but now they've got the whole L-shaped thing, and it's got the ability to handle 50 of those reactors when it's said and done. Now, one of the things that really made a big difference in the ability for Corsair to sell this pyrolysis oil to these big companies was becoming ISCC certified. That was a requirement for these companies to be able to purchase the pyrolysis oil from Corsair. Corsair was, I think, the first company in all of Asia to be able to get certified for that. And then let's just talk for a minute about this concept of these CRS plastic credits. Because besides Corsair having a very, very powerful business model now of being able to convert plastic into this extraordinarily valuable feedstock oil for new plastics, they're also at the same time, for every kilogram that they convert, that creates 10 of these CSR tokens that act as a receipt, a digital receipt that the work is done and proven, validated by third-party validation companies, that is being able to use in the plastic credit space. Now, in Bangkok, where they've really been setting things up, they have gotten a tremendous amount of activity in a lot of companies facilitating in that area where they wanted to get involved. They wanted to be receiving the positive press about being involved in helping solving the problem, creating locations at those facilities that people can bring that kind of plastic to these facilities, and Corsair will come and pick it up. And again, because normal processes don't allow that kind of plastic to go into recycling, it's pretty much always ending up in landfills. And then there's the ability for companies that want to really capitalize on being a great corporate citizen and becoming plastic neutral. In other words, by acquiring enough of these plastic credits to completely offset the amount of plastic that their packaging is putting into the environment, and being able to put this 2025 plastic neutral logo on there to do that. And a very valuable thing, a lot of PR that they're able to get on that. So let's talk about what's in it for us, okay? Because we're part of Amplivo, the wholly owned marketing and educational company of Corsair. And what's really extraordinary is they do all the industrial side of things. They take care of building these reactors and getting the plastic, converting it, selling it to the big companies. But they also provide that all of those plastic credits that are created in that process are being marketed or essentially distributed through the Amplivo network. That means through us in the process. And why is that interesting? Well, because these plastic credits are the digital proof that we get as a result of what we are that we're selling. So when we're in Amplivo, our product, the service that we sell, people say, what do you sell? We sell a waste removal service, which is kind of like a purchase order to Amplivo to remove a specific quantity of plastic based on the plastic neutral package that we're purchasing. And then when that is converted, and these plastic credits in the form of these CSR 25 credits are provided to us as digital proof of what's going on. So the opportunity that we have is that we can help individuals like ourselves and other individuals, as well as companies, go plastic neutral. And then we earn commissions on those plastic neutral packages that are purchased. And then we introduce other partners and companies to it, and we earn commissions from them as well. And the only cost to be involved in this is a fee that they call a business license. That's a once a year, €10, about $12 fee that's out there. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, which really is the upcoming legislation that's really going to be pushing this from companies being good corporate citizens and really showing themselves as being effective in being part of the solution to the problem, to companies being mandated for it. And there's something that's called extended producer responsibility, EPR, that basically says that the amount of plastic that a company produces in their marketing of goods, they're going to have to pay somebody to remove an equivalent amount of that from the environment. So let's take a listen to this little clip as well, which I think is really good to give it some context.
And how does plastic credits compare to carbon credits? Let's talk.
Right. So plastic credit is a concept that I think started the first time appear publicly roughly around 2020.
Okay.
And sort of started to pick up wind. And basically, like we've seen in carbon credits, which is a little bit more difficult concept because you're dealing with something up in the air.
Right.
Plastic is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
tangible.
It's a solid, and
Yeah.
there's less complexity to it.
Yeah.
With the carbon credits, you have companies that have a right to pollute X amount, and if they don't pollute, they can sell that right. So it's a little bit more complex. With plastic, it's very simple. If your company, your business uses plastic in the packaging of your product, for example, and you end up polluting the environment by, let's say, 1 million kilos a year, the direction where the world is moving is that your company, who's making that 1 million kilo plastic waste a year, is now obligated to recover from the environment the same amount of plastic waste. Pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward, yeah.
Pretty straightforward. So let's talk a little bit more on exactly what it is that we're selling and what it means for us. So basically 1 kilogram of plastic waste removal service generates 10 of these CRS25 plastic credits. And so we take a look at some of the packages. This is just a sampling of them. They start actually at €10, but here we're putting a group that starts at 500 to 1,000, and then 2,000 up to 20,000. But it gives you an idea of the amount of CSR credits that are associated with the process once the work is created, and what the US dollar cost is of each of these packages. And then we earn from selling these packages. So let's just take a couple of examples. One part of the compensation plan that has to do with levels or a unilevel portion of it. Here's a couple of examples of the packages and the amount that we earn from it. And we're talking about it in US dollars, but the packages are based in euros because the company's out of the Netherlands and they do everything in euros. But you can see if somebody is buying a €500 package, and and they're level 1 to you, whether it's a customer or another Amplivo associate, you'll make $72 off of that. The second level, 8%, 48, 48, 30, 30 down to level 5. And then accordingly, as you get up to some of these bigger numbers. And companies that are doing this to offset their plastic footprint is where you get into some of the really big numbers that are out there that are totally extraordinary. So let's take a listen to Jay about his perspective on being part of the US market, which is ostensibly one of the real driving forces that put a tremendous collaboration agreement together with Ihub and with Corsair?
We see a great opportunity in the United States. We like to say that the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. And as we all work together, both the businesses, the different communities, the municipalities, the decision makers, we can truly make a change. And as a result of that, we're looking to build a long-lasting, strong, sustainable, and efficient plastic recycling infrastructure in the United States. And as a result of that, leave a healthier and a greener, a cleaner planet for the future generation.
All right. So again, together with Corsair and Amplivo, we're on a mission to rid the planet of this horrific plague that's plastic pollution. And the thing is everybody is starting to hear about it. It's like the 100th monkey. Pretty soon, everybody is aware of this huge problem that's out there. But unlike things like carbon credits, where only the big companies and the banks and the governments are able to really participate in it, this is something that any of us, anywhere around the world, regardless of the economic reality of that country, anybody that chooses to can participate in making a difference in this, and at the same time building a strong financial future in the process.